Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. It's a beautiful Saturday evening, and just taking a moment to go through some common topics on the bar exam to help you pass and ultimately make this the very last time that you have to take this exam. As a repeat bar taker, I know how important it is to get these concepts through in any way possible, so this channel is really built for you. Listen to it once, twice, whatever you want. If you have any comments or any ways I can improve, please let me know. So first, we're just going to start off, and oftentimes students will get a MEE question, an essay portion on the topic of agency, partnerships, or corporations. And I think it's important to go through the difference between all of these. There's agency, there's corporations, and there's partnerships. And these are really distinct topics. And to help you kind of picture and figure out, hey, what is this question really asking me? I think it's important to know which topics that are going to show up. When it comes to agency, they're often going to ask you whether there is an agency, I'm trying to spell here, so forgive me, an agency relationship. So is there an agency relationship here? Is there a relationship between an agent and a principal where the agent acts on behalf of the principal or is under the principal's control? Is this relationship created? Was there a voluntary consent? Was the agent subject to the principal's control? Or if there's already an agency relationship there, was it terminated? Did the agent or the principal want this relationship to terminate? Did the terms of this agency expire? Was the agent's purpose fulfilled? So that's one of the questions that's going to come up. They'll also might ask you in an MEE question, typically whether the agent or the principal is liable to a third party. And this can really only happen under a certain set of circumstances. If you have, they'll typically only ask you whether an agent is liable or whether the principal is liable. And the principal is liable if you have an agent, if the agent acts with either actual or apparent authority, right? And then the agent is typically liable if they hold themselves out to have authority. So we'll go over this in future topics, but generally liability and a principal or an agent's liability to a third party is a really, really common topic when it comes to agency. They'll also try to discuss respondent superior, whether under this principle, whether an employer is responsible for the acts of this employee/agent. And to do that, when you're talking about respondent superior, oftentimes they will look at the agent's actions. They'll say, is there an employee-employer relationship, or did the agent act within the scope of employment? So those are some of the most common themes that you're going to see when it comes to agency. Now with corporations, it's a little bit different. With corporations now, you're going to have topics on formation. It's going to say, okay, was this LLC or corporation formed the right way? And forgive me, let me just rewrite that here. Let me just do one, formation. Was this entity or corporation formed the right way? It'll also talk about maybe piercing the corporate veil, right? Whether the corporation had their own business, if they had their own set of minutes, or was it merely acting as a shadow of an individual? It'll see, hey, is this shareholders really liable for these acts, or is this corporation really acting as a shadow of this corporation? So it can also talk about piercing the corporate veil. It can also talk about the duty of care and the duty of loyalty. And the duty of care is often connected with the business judgment rule, where typically courts will not second guess the actions of the directors and the officers. So that's also a really important topic and often highly tested. And typically under that business judgment rule, the courts won't second guess their decisions if they, meaning the officers and directors, acted in good faith, or they used the care an ordinarily prudent person would use, or if they reasonably believe that that action was actually in the best interest of the corporation. So duty of care, along with, I'm just going to add just for completeness, the duty of loyalty, is also a topic that's highly tested when it comes to corporations. You'll also may see if there's like a shareholder derivative claim or shareholder direct claim, and maybe like classes of stock as well. Maybe stuff on annual meetings, and probably like the options of like mergers and acquisitions as well. So these are all topics that would fall under this corporation umbrella. Again, different from agency. Although you may see in an agency question a parent and a subsidiary, or you may see that with a corporation. It'll mostly talk about in corporations, formation, piercing the corporate veil, duty of care, business judgment rule. While agency, these questions will often be pointed towards whether there's a relationship between the agent and the partner, and whether there is that third party if the agent or the principal is liable to that third party. And then lastly, we have partnerships. And generally here, they're also going to talk about formation. But it's often different this time. Is there a general partnership? Is there a limited partnership? Or could it be a limited liability partnership? And typically, there's no formal, when it comes to a general partnership, there's no formal written test or agreement that needs to happen when it comes to a general partnership. Usually, this is just, two or more people who are co-owners who carry out a business for profit. And the courts will use certain facts such as whether they shared profits, whether there's joint ownership, whether there's this sharing of control in order to determine if there is a partnership there. They'll also look at liability as well, but these questions tend to be around tort liability. Like if one partner commits a tort, are the other partners liable? Or it would be a measure of contract liability. If one partner signs a contract, then will the other ones be liable? And then there'll also be questions on dissolution of a partnership. Dissolution of the partnership, particularly under the Uniform Partnership Act and also the revised Uniform Partnership Act, which comes up a lot. And then also the right of partners, whether they're management and control, and also the duty of care and duty of loyalty when it comes to a partnership. Now, although we're going to dive into these three topics later, I think it's a good idea to think about what topics agency, corporations, and partnerships consist of, so it's easier to issue spot these topics and these legal issues when you take the bar exam. Hopefully you found this helpful, and look out for the next video that will dive into these topics with a little more detail.